I'm so glad you're here with me as we continue our devotions on the old-fashioned home. So if you missed any, please go back or listen to the sermon on Sunday. This is really important. Look, model faith for your children. Okay, this is so important. We have parents, they take their children to church and put them in Bible class, and parents go to church, but you're cursing. You walk around the house. You don't smoke. You're not drinking. You don't use curse words, but you're down all the time. You're negative. You're real depressed all the time. Most of your children are going to pick that up. You're training them to become like that. You're placing a curse on that child's life. Now, some of you, you're just nervous Tilly out there. You're all nervous about this and nervous about that. That's what you're training them. You're training them to fear. Okay, don't do that. You don't want to do that. Model the faith. Look at 1 Corinthians 11, verse 1. Paul says, be imitators of me as I am of Christ. In fact, I was talking about men being fathers over the weekend to other people, to other kids. Setting the example. You want to live your life in such a way that you could turn to somebody and say, listen, you'll do really well at this if you model what I'm doing, and I get this from the Word of God. That is not being filled with pride. Absolutely not. You are mentoring someone. And if they can see that in you, they're going to want to model that. Okay, let them see you pray and worship and trust God in hard times. So when you're going through a hard time and you're going through an illness and you're having financial difficulty, and they see you and you're yelling, you're screaming, you're all nervous, and you're making comments about where is God. Okay, that's horrible. Don't do that. That is an example for your children to watch. I remember one of the greatest things I ever heard any of my children say, and being a preacher, I'm telling you, when your kid's young, boy, I'll tell you, they'll shoot at you because you're the preacher. So every imperfection they saw in me, it would come up at some moment. But the whole family went through just a horrific, horrible trial. And I was just trying to keep the ship steady, and I was trying to keep things as faith-filled as I could. And one day I overheard one of my teenagers on the phone in the next room, they didn't know I was there, say, I have to tell you, don't you pity my family. My family is one of the strongest Christian families I know. And he said, nothing is going to take down my family. I'll tell you, that was the greatest thing I could have ever heard. That was the greatest compliment that I ever heard. And we were at the worst moments of the entire family's life. And I thought it is so important to model the faith when you're in a trial in front of your children. Listen, practice integrity. That's what this verse is all about. In Psalms 15, verse 2, this is the way the Christian is supposed to live. It says, he who walks blamelessly and does that which is right, and they speak truth in his heart. They don't slander. They don't talk about other people, it says, with his tongue. And they don't do evil to his neighbor. They're not fighting with them and trying to get revenge on them. Nor does he take up a reproach against his friend. If your friend, they see you're in a restaurant and you're always whining and crying and complaining, and you're mad at the waitress, and you're not going to leave a tip, and you're mad at the neighbors, and listen, that's not godly. We have to live godly lives and model this in front of our children. Look at Joshua 24, verse 15. You should hang this in your house. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So let's get started with that and have an old-fashioned home today.